Presentation of D4K on Idaho Public Television is made possible through the generous support of the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moore family legacy of building the great state of Idaho.
Bees are essential for life on Earth. They help pollinate plants so we have food. Have a question about bees? We're standing by with answers. Stay tuned. D4K is next. Hi, I'm Joan Cartan Hansen. Welcome to D4K, the place for science. Before we go to your questions, let's learn a little bit more about bees.
A bee is an insect, and all insects have three main body parts: a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. There are more than 20,000 different kinds of bees all over the world, and the honeybee is the most well-known. A honeybee has two antennae to help the bee touch, taste, and smell. It has a long tongue called a proboscis. Bees use it to sip nectar from flowers. A honeybee has compound eyes, which mean the eyes are made up of many tiny parts. Honeybees have 4 wings that allow it to fly up to 10 hours a day. That buzz you hear? It's the sound of the bee flapping its wings at over 200 times a second. It has a special stomach to hold nectar, and its body is covered with hair to help pick up pollen. Honeybees have bright stripes to scare enemies away and sharp stingers. Like people, honeybees are social creatures. They live together in a colony. The place a honeybee lives is called a hive. Hives can be in trees, in the ground, or if the bees are being raised by beekeepers, they live in boxes like these. Honeybees live very busy lives. The queen bee rules the hive. She can lay thousands of eggs in a day. Drones are male bees. They mate with the queen bee. The rest are worker bees, and they're all female. They don't lay eggs, they do all the other jobs. Houseworker bees make the honeycomb cells that you see in a hive. These cells are made out of wax that comes out of the bee's body. The cells are made into 6-sided hexagonal shapes. The queen bee lays eggs in some cells, and other bees store nectar and pollen in the rest. Houseworker bees tend the eggs as they develop into larvae and then hatch into baby bees. Guard bees protect the entrance to the hive. They make sure bees from other colonies don't get into the hive. And how do they tell a robber bee from one of their own? By smell. Bees in a hive generally all come from one queen, so they all share her scent. So guard bees can smell a stranger. Most worker bees are foragers. They go to a flower, suck out the flower's nectar, and pick up the flower's pollen. A honeybee can visit thousands of flowers each day, filling up its pollen pockets and nectar stomach, going back to deposit its collection into the hive, and then going out for more. The process benefits both the bees and the flowers. Flowers need pollen from other flowers to grow seeds. So flowers produce nectar and pollen to attract the bees, and then bees come and spread pollen as they flit from one flower to another. The bees get the food they need, and the flowers get their pollen spread around. Now, how do you think the honeybees tell each other where all the flowers are? They dance. No. Bees fly out of the hive in a circular pattern to find flowers. When one finds flowers, it goes back to the hive and does a dance. If the flowers are in the direction of the sun, it dances a figure-8 pattern. If the flowers are to the right of the sun, it runs up and down the honeycomb toward the right. If the flowers are on the left, then the bee dances toward the left. And the faster it dances, the closer the food. Honeybees are the only insect that makes food people eat. Honey comes from the nectar the bees store in the hive. Though honeybees are the most well-known, there are lots of different kinds of bees, and they come in different colors and live in different places. They don't all make honey, but they do all play an important role in our ecosystem. Without bees and their pollination, plants wouldn't be able to produce the food that we eat. So bees, flowers, and people all work together. Isn't that sweet?
And joining me now to answer your questions about bees are Ron Bittner, a partner at International Pollination Systems and owner of Bittner Vineyards in Caldwell. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And also joining us is Kurt Tubbs, owner of Tubbs Berry Farm and manager of the Twin Falls Pest Abatement District. Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks.
Okay, let's go to your questions.
Hi, my name is John. I go to Dalton Elementary, and my question is, why do bees pollinate flowers?
The pollen, John, is the protein source that the egg is going to be laid on. It's a benefit to the flower because they move pollen from flower to flower, so the seeds will develop. But it's strictly a pollen source, the protein for the bees to lay their eggs on.
Hi, my name is Ledger, and I go to Kamiah Elementary School in Kamiah, Idaho. My question is, why do bees sting?
All right, well, Ledger, if you think of honeybees and how small they are, and they have to protect their winter food, and so that stinger is their way to defend it. Again, think of things like bears that want to break in and eat that honey. They've had to evolve a way to protect themselves against something big like that. So, but bees don't like to sting unless they really have to, because when they sting, they die. And so it's something they save until they absolutely have to. Sometimes if you accidentally step on a bee, it'll sting you because, well, it feels like it's dying.
Molly would like to know, why is there a queen bee?
Well, in the hive, she's the one that kind of helps regulate the hive. She has her smell, her pheromones help calm the bees and kind of regulate their activities. She's the one in charge. She's the one that lays all the eggs, so has all the babies. Without her, the hive would cease to function. The individual bee is not so important as the colony, and bees work together in this big group. And so each bee is important to that group, but each bee by itself couldn't survive.
And in my world, in my bees, there's no queen bee. They're solitary bees. A lot of times they like the company of other bees around them. There's a pheromone they give off, so other bees come to it. But each little female that's laying her eggs takes care of her own brood, and there's no queen and there's no colony there.
Hi, my name is Bridget, and I go to Dalton Elementary in Hayden, Idaho. And my question is, why do bees have 4 wings?
Well, again, in the insect world and the insects that have wings, it's a method of getting around. So with bees, they have 4 wings. Now, what's interesting is there are some flies that look like bees, but if I want to tell them apart, flies only have 2 wings. But it's strictly for getting around and flying out through the orchards and vineyards, but it's for flight.
Mm-hmm. With those 4 wings, it's kind of like a helicopter. They can go and land and go where they need to, and it allows them to really get in there and find those flowers and get what they need.
Jasmine would like to know, do bees have a favorite food?
So Jasmine, bees can tell how sweet something is when they taste it. And so if they find a fruit or a flower that has a really nice nectar that they like, they'll go back to the hive and tell the rest about it, and they'll even compare notes. And so they'll tend to go to the richest nectar source, whatever has the highest sugar concentration. And so yeah, they do have some favorites that they're at all the time.
Hi, my name is Bodie, and I go to Kamiah Elementary School in Kamiah, Idaho. My question is, why do bees live in hives?
Okay, the hive is just a place to protect the bees. Bees live together in a colony, a big group of them, and that hive is some place to protect them as they work together. So that hive can be in a tree, it could be in a box. When I was a kid, I remember stories of my grandma keeping bees in a suitcase. So that hive provides the protection.
Alex would like to know, are bees intelligent and do they play?
Good question, Alex. I've never really seen bees play, and there's different forms of intelligence. We regard the honeybee because of her behavior that she can learn a lot. Workers can learn a lot. They can give directions. They have their own language. With the solitary bees, mostly what I see is really hard-working female bees pollinating the flowers, and the guys, being guys, are out flying around, checking things out. Maybe that's play to them. They're always doing something different, but they don't directly go and pollinate flowers.
Yeah, and I don't know about play, for example, but bees are very smart. When they want to see which one can smell better, a bloodhound or a bee, they're not sure. Honeybees have been trained to go through mazes, to find landmines for the military, They're really, really smart, and they'll figure stuff out real quick. In fact, sometimes when I'm at the house, I'll have bees. If I was feeding bees and they figure out that I've been putting feed out for them when there's no flowers in bloom, I'll have bees come up and just buzz around me, and it's sometimes it's a way to say, hey, we're out of food, come over here and look. So they learn who you are.
Did you know that a bee isn't born knowing how to make honey? Younger bees have to learn from older bees how to make this sweet treat.
Hi, my name is Millie and I go to Basin Elementary School in Idaho City. My question is, how many different types of bees are there in the world?
That's a very good question. In the world, there are more than 20,000 different kinds of bees. Most people think of the honeybee. There's 10 different kinds of honeybees in the world. We just have one kind here in the United States. And we have about 4,000 different kinds of bees here in the western states. In Idaho here, we have several thousand different kinds of bees. Most of the bees don't live in colonies. They're called solitary because they make their own nest. Most of the bees nest in the ground. Sometimes they nest in tubes. But there is that big difference. But there are a lot more of the other kinds of bees. That has been my specialty for the last 40 years, is studying these other kinds of little bees.
Freya would like to know, how do bees buzz?
Well, the buzzing you hear is the sound of their wings, okay? And so when they vibrate those wings, you'll hear that buzzing sound. And it's really neat because sometimes you can open a hive of bees and you can hear by the buzz whether they're happy or mad. Sometimes there's days where they're not very happy and their buzz will sound different. And so as they move those wings, you'll hear that sound. Just like you hear a buzz from mosquitoes, each insect on how they move their wings will have a slightly different sound.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie. I go to Dalton Elementary in Hayden, Idaho. My question is, why are bees covered in hair?
Well, Mackenzie, it's a good thing that they are, because that hair is what helps them collect pollen. It kind of sticks to it, and when they go from flower to flower, that pollen then gets transferred around. Honeybees are very good at going from the same type of flower. If they're working on watermelon flowers, they'll kind of stay to watermelon flowers that whole trip, and so that hair has pollen stick to it and it moves it around. That's how the flowers get pollinated. It also helps them as they're grabbing it and putting it in their little pollen baskets on their leg to haul back to the hive.
And with the solitary bees, there are 10 or 12 different families of bees, and the way we tell them apart is where they collect the pollen. The honeybee has a special collecting pollen apparatus on her legs. My little leafcutter bees, the females collect all the pollen on their stomachs. So depending on where the pollen hairs are is how we tell the different kinds of bees apart.
Eleanor would like to know, do bees get illnesses?
Just like everybody else, even little kids, there are a lot of different diseases they can get, especially when they're stressed. I mean, they have a short lifespan. They're working very hard every day, and there are numerous diseases and protozoans that they'll get sick with, yes.
Right now there's a couple viruses that affect bees greatly, and that's some of the concern. When bees get sick, they don't live as long, they're not able to work as much, and so the hive has trouble maintaining itself. One of those diseases that they get causes their wings to be shriveled up. They can't fly, and so they die real quick. Another one causes their hair to fall off. This virus, when they have that, they don't survive the winter very well. I guess that hair helps keep them warm a little bit in the winter.
Hi, my name is Caden and I go to Basin Elementary School in Idaho City. My question is, why are bees black and yellow?
Well, Caden, not all bees are yellow and black. Here the bees you see are a European honeybee, and we have different strains of bees, just like you see different kinds of cows. You have black and white cows and brown cows. There's even different races of bees. Some of those bees will be really dark, almost black. Those are your carnelians. You have Italians that are more golden with the stripes that you're used to seeing. And there's different other ones that will be slightly variations on that color.
Hi, my name is Luke from Dalton Elementary, and my question is, how do bees fight off other bees?
In my world, bees are totally non-aggressive. They don't particularly fight with other bees or other insects trying to get in. The honeybee is a little different because they're socialized. I don't like to think of my bees as dumb bees, but they pretty much are oblivious to anything else. With honeybees, there's an actual interaction between the bees, and you can talk about that.
Often in the honeybee, at the hive, you'll have some guard bees. And they'll be kind of at the front of the hive, and they'll check all the bees that are coming in and out. And sometimes you'll have bees from other hives want to sneak in and steal stuff, and they'll stop them. And they'll just grab them and haul them and throw them out. If you have a wasp that's trying to sneak in, they'll grab that wasp and haul it and throw it overboard. They do have their stingers, and sometimes they'll sting other insects or bees. But again, a bee stings, it dies, so that you don't see that happen a lot.
Amy would like to know, do bees sleep?
Do they sleep? You know, they become very quiet. I've gone out at night and looked in the holes at bees, and whether they have their eyes closed is pretty hard for me to tell, but they become inactive when it's cold or if it's cloudy, but they don't fly around at night at all.
And in honeybees, you'll see a lot of activity in the hive even at night. At certain times of the year, a lot of it's temperature. And you'll see them rest. And they're really good at learning that certain flowers bloom at certain times. And so if this flower blooms at 10 o'clock and has really good nectar, the bees will all kind of hang out just lazing around resting, maybe not sleeping. And at 9:49, they all fly out there to that flower, and a little bit later they're all back.
Hi, and welcome to Tubbs Berry Farm. We're here with Heidi. She's one of the beekeepers here. Tell us what you're wearing. What I'm wearing.
I'm actually wearing a bee jacket, which has a veil, and you're wearing a veil. And the reason we wear a veil is because bees are stinging insects that have evolved, and as part of their protective mechanism, they focus on animals' faces to sting them there, the eyes. And so if we wear a veil, that helps protect our faces from being stung.
Well, let's talk about honey. How do you get the honey out of the hive? What's the process?
Well, the bees bring in nectar and store it once they mix it with the enzymes and the probiotics and store it in their cells. They evaporate the moisture off of it until it's the perfect moisture content where it will never go bad. So honey actually never goes bad. And once it hits that point, they cap the cell or seal it over with wax. And when it comes harvest time, we pull the frames of honey out, take a knife or a scratcher and break that coating of wax, and then we can either spin it or turn it upside down, and the honey will just run right out of those cells.
One thing you often see beekeepers do is using smoke. What's the smoke for?
Well, the smoke does a couple of things. First, bees communicate with each other by pheromones or smells and scents, and so they can tell each other that there's an intruder or somebody's in our hive by a smell, which actually the alarm smell smells a little like bananas. And so the smoke makes it harder for them to pass that smell around because they would smell smoke instead. The other thing is that bees evolved living in hollow trees and cavities, quite often in forests. And so forest fires are a big problem, I guess, for bees. And so they've evolved that when they smell smoke, they run to the pantry, start eating as fast as they can, getting ready to leave. Because they know that their tree is going to be burned down, so they'll have to leave. So when we use just a little bit of smoke, the bees are suddenly busy feeding inside the hive, and so then they're not paying as much attention to us, and so it's easier to work the bees. Beekeeping is very rewarding. It's a lot of fun. They're fascinating, and so we do spend a lot of time just watching them. If you want to become a beekeeper, first learn a lot if you can. And there's a lot of really good information out there, and especially on the internet, there's a lot of really bad information out there. And there really are as many ways to keep bees as there are beekeepers. It seems like every beekeeper has their own opinion about the best way to take care of bees. But there are a lot of diseases and problems that are affecting bees that are fairly recent in the last couple of decades. And so it's important to know about those diseases to keep your bees healthy, and also so that you don't spread diseases to other bees that might be around you. So if you have an opportunity to have another beekeeper that can mentor you or get involved in a local beekeeping organization, read as much as you can, take a class if you can, and just know that when you do get started, your first couple of years will be huge learning experiences. Lots of fun, but you'll learn a lot.
Heidi, thank you so much for having us. I appreciate you taking time to show us all this.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, let's go back to your questions.
Hi, my name is Hannah, and I go to Dalton Elementary School. And my question is, how far can bees fly before they get tired?
I'll start with, again, with the little solitary bees. My specialty are leafcutter bees, and I don't know if you're driving around the Treasure Valley, you'll see shelters out there where the bees are nesting. And they typically fly less than 400 or 500 yards, are not strong flyers. I also work with alkali bees and bumblebees, and they will fly 5 to 6 miles. But the strongest flyers are the honeybees.
Yeah, and unless they're heading back to the hive, bees often just bounce around a lot. They'll go somewhere and land, and they're looking around on the flower and go to another spot. I always tell people that most of their honey for that hive comes from the nearest mile, so those bees are flying a mile to haul that nectar back. But if there's not much in that area, they'll go 3 miles or 5 miles. And when I'm raising queens, they'll fly as far as 8 miles to go mate.
Jose would like to know, how do bees make honey sweet?
Well, the bees don't actually make it sweet. The flowers are the ones that produce the nectar, and then the bees, as they gather that nectar and put it through their honey stomach and haul it back to the hive, they kind of preserve it. And so, depending on what the nectar source is, honey will have different flavors. Now, if you heat honey to high temperature, you'll lose some of those flavors, but when you taste raw honey out of a hive or fresh honey, it will be very different depending on the flower. We have raspberries when they're in bloom. We'll have raspberry blossom honey that tastes very different than, and where they have orange trees, they'll get orange blossom honey, and so it'll have its own flavor as well.
Hi, my name is Xander, and I go to Dalton Elementary in Hayden, Idaho. And my question is, why do males have to always be drones and not females?
So the boy bees are called drones, and that's just how it is. The kind of cool thing about the drones is, at least in honeybees, is they have these big googly eyes, and they have kind of big round abdomens, so they're really easy to spot, but they don't have a stinger. So my kids always keep them as pets because they can pack them around, there's no stinger, and they're the drones. They don't have to do any work. They're welcome at any hive. They come and go as they please. The bad thing is when winter comes, they kick them all out and they die.
Eleanor asks, what happens when the queen dies?
Well, they'll usually raise up a new queen. All those eggs that are laid for workers, they can, if it's under 3 days old, if that larva is under 3 days old, she can be fed a special diet of royal jelly, and they treat her a little different, and it's raised into a new queen. And without the queen, the hive doesn't function. That queen is required to lay the eggs to keep everything going, and so it's a emergency. When they don't have a queen, they hurry up and raise a new queen.
Hi, my name is Eliza, and I go to Dalton Elementary in Hayden, Idaho. And my question is, how long does an average bee live?
My little bees typically live for 4 to 6 weeks. Sometimes part of the eggs that are laid will hatch out into a second or a third generation. So you might see leafcutter bees flying all summer, but the original female that laid that egg, she lives for 1 month, typically, sometimes 5 weeks.
So in honeybees, when you look at the queen bee, she can live quite a long time. Queens will live 3, 4, 5 years even. Oftentimes, if the queen's felling, the bees will replace her and she won't be in the hive as long. But worker bees, the more work that they do, the less time that they live. So bees that are in the summer, they might live a month. Bees that are raised up in the fall, they'll live all through the winter. They're just hanging out, they're not doing a lot of work. So it's a relatively short lifespan.
Dan would like to know, where do bees live?
Well, honeybees seek out some sort of cavity to build their colony in, and so for beekeepers, we'll keep them in boxes. We'll call them a Langstroth hive. There's different types of hives. You'll find them in a hollow tree, a log sometimes, and I think my grandma at one time had bees inside of a suitcase.
And with the bees that I work with, the solitary bees, most of those bees nest in the ground. They burrow holes in the soil to nest. The bees I've specialized in have to find a cavity. And in nature, that cavity is usually a beetle hole or cracks in wood or something. But where we manage the bees for alfalfa seed production, we actually drill holes in wood and put them out, and that's what the bee nests in.
Hi, my name is Ben, and I go to Dalton Elementary in Hayden, Idaho. And my question is, why does a bee sting hurt?
Well, again, when a bee stings, it has a little poison sac, and a bee stinger has barbs on the end of it, Ben, and so it pokes in and holds on, and then it releases that poison into you, and it hurts, and that's what it's designed to do, so that you won't want to mess with bees again. It's the way they protect themselves. Animals that get stung by bees remember that, and so then they don't mess with them again.
If a student is interested in studying about bees, what should they do? Where should they go?
Well, I can talk about my own career path. I'm a graduate of the College of Idaho. Hadn't considered studying bees, but I got a grant to go to Purdue University to study the kinds of bees in Indiana. And there I fell in love with all the different kinds of bees that were out there. But being from Idaho, I missed the mountains. So I came back out to Utah State, and there's actually 5 or 6 USDA bee laboratories around the United States. But I came to the Logan Laboratory because they don't study honeybees, they study the other kinds. And so I did my PhD work on the little leafcutter bee. So there's all levels of education out there. I mean, some of the most highly intelligent people who understand bees are 80-year-old beekeepers I've been around who just have learned it throughout their life. So, but, being biology, then graduate school, you can get strictly into insects if you want and understand entomology, bugs. PhD, you can focus on bees if you want. And there's such a demand for research on bees right now, and bugs in general. It's a good area to be studying in.
And what was it about bees that got you started?
I've always liked them. My sister tells a story that I used to have a pet bee that I'd carry around, and it never stung me, but of course it stung her. But I've always been fascinated, but there was lots of them around. And, for years I'd wanted bees, but I couldn't quite justify it. My wife was a little bit concerned, if they were going to be hazardous to have around the house and stuff. And with our berry farm, we started having pollination problems. And so that was my excuse, and it's just gone from there. But if somebody's interested in bees, it's really not that hard to start a hive and to get started, and you'll learn a lot just from observing. Watching those bees will teach you a lot, and then go to school and study biology, take those classes. I studied wildlife biology, and a lot of those same things I learned in wildlife are very applicable to bees.
I'm sorry, but we've run out of time. Thanks to Ron and Kirk for joining us. I appreciate you both being here.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you. You can learn a lot more about bees and other scientific topics on the D4K website. We'll answer more questions about bees on the D4K web-only show. And if you want to submit a question to D4K, it's easy. You and your class can win prizes too. You can send your question as an email or as a video question, recorded on your webcam or cell phone. And if you're an educator, we'll even lend you a camera. Last month's prize winner was Ryan from Mrs. Nikaya's class at Westside Elementary in Idaho Falls. So to find out all about bees, how to send in your questions, and how to win, go to the D4K website. And each week, check out my science blog for the latest science news for kids. You'll find it all at idahoptv.org/D4K. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on D4K, the place for science.
Presentation of D4K on Idaho Public Television is made possible through the generous support of the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moore family legacy of building the great state of Idaho.
If you want to learn more about this topic or watch our videos, check out the D4K website at idahoptv.org/D4K.